I'm Thorald. Sometimes I go by Thorald Koren. And I now call Los Angeles home for about 6 months now. But before that, I'm Adelaide born. I was a kid in Sydney, Australia, and then I was a teenager in New York City. And now I'm an adult in Los Angeles. Well, the first time I ever taught, I was at this late night party, and this very attractive girl leant into me on the bed with a wine. She was probably 15 years my senior, and looked at me and was like, "Do you teach?" And I just went, "Yeah." And I'd never taught anyone. I'd maybe showed someone some chords once on the guitar, and it found me, in that moment. And I also was, working in restaurants and bars and doing different things. And I realized that I could teach what I know, and it very quickly went to the voice. And it very quickly went to all the things that I'd learnt as a young kid in performing arts high schools. I went to the Australian Performing Arts High School, and I went to a school in New York City called Professional Performing Arts High School. So I was always around performance and music. And once I sat with people, I realized that I could really pass things on. I realized being a teacher is not what you're teaching. It's the ability to guide someone towards something that they want, that they know they want, and they don't know how to go there. And I realized early on that I could be that, and that's a gift in and of itself. And it's very important when you find out that your gift is a teacher and is a mentor, to really share that. And I also realized that I always had a holistic approach to the voice. I always, right from the beginning, knew that expression was something to find and to move into. And very quickly I started seeing alternative healers, clients, like a Reiki master friend of mine. And I kind of ended up in the deep end, coaching people very quickly about their own communication and expression. And at the ripe age of 20, I realized I was in the deep end too quickly. So I actually backed off following that part of coaching voice for a number of years to follow. I think it was out of my own fear. I realized that now the gateway opened really fast, and it took me quite a few more years to be courageous enough to, number one, allow myself to be a mentor, number two, to really just go to the core and say, this is about your expression in your life, and this ricochets everywhere, and really go to those awesome depths and not make it about just a melody or a song. And so, I think in my now mature years, I've stepped into something I was always destined for, and only was ready for in the last couple of years. Well, the physiological experience of daring to suck is usually as follows. We step toward something we want. We're faced with an opportunity to shine, to express, to be heard. And automatic thoughts, feelings, sensations come up. And just like they have their own feeling, they also have a gravity to them. And what it feels like at first when you're heading towards something that you really want is that those fears and thoughts and doubts try to move you out of your own gravity. That they may win to say, hey, this is risky. What you're about to do is risky. Something may be wrong. We should fix that by not doing that, not taking that risk, not stepping into that unknown. And what I've found is right before that breakthrough, right before walking through that door, the body, the mind, and the heart, those automatic canvases of the mind go off to say, don't walk through that. That's usually right where you can walk and right where the transformation starts to take place. I do have a little bit of a yoga practice. I found Bikram yoga when I was going through pretty much the worst mental illness period of my life. I had critical obsessive compulsive disorder. It was undiagnosed until I did when I was about 23. And I found Bikram, and it kind of was an external reflection of what I was going through. Like I was going through such turmoil within me that I could externalize it in a hot room and see if I could make it through this class. Just me and my eyes, could I make it through? And it seemed so much easier than my own relationship to my mind, that by no means was it easy, but it leveled out. It made something physical for me when everything was so mental and I was so far out of my body at the time. It really brought me that opportunity to kind of make it through. And it never did what cycling has done for me. I found cycling when I really hit a bottom. I found this old bike, and anytime I was so anxious and so psychotic, really, so far down the rabbit hole of my fears, thoughts, sensations, and emotions, that I would just get on this bike and I would pedal and I'd pedal and I'd pedal. And I just would get on this bike and keep going down the river. And I would go for 5 hours sometimes. And I noticed as I was so tired, something would relax. Somehow I would come back to this reality that I had this body, and that maybe all of this was just a chemical process that had gone awry, and that nothing that was going on within me needed to be solved. That the something's wrong, gotta fix it alarms were just really something I didn't have to play with, shift, clear, heal, uproot. All of those cycles didn't need to be followed, and I could just keep pedaling. And it also, I believe that the art of cycling really moves the lower gut. It really engages the second brain that's in that lower gut area, all of those nerve endings. It engages it in a really beautiful game of massaging and movement, and it turns the anxiety one might feel in the lower part of them into something active and something awesome. And I've really noticed the reset that it's given me. And ever since then, I've become a road cyclist, and I love climbing hills. What can I say?